Hello beautiful people, how you doing? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Nonya. Today I'll be teaching us how to make a female trouser, a short female trouser. Yes, it's going to be a knee length trouser. Okay, I'll take you step by step on everything you need to know on how to make a trouser. First, we'll be needing the waist measurement, the hip, the thigh circumference, the crouch, and the ankle. Okay, sorry, not the ankle, is not a full trouser. The knee circumference, yes. So we needing the waist, the hip, the length of the trouser, and the thigh circumference and the knee circumference. Okay, so first things first, we want to mark the hip depth. Okay, so if your trouser is going to have a band, you subtract your band height. So the band height I want to work with is 1 inch, so I'll take away 1 inch from my measurement. See how I'm placing my tape, taking away 1 inch. Okay, so my hip depth, first the crouch is the most important thing. So my crouch depth is 10, so I've marked 10 inches. Then the length of the trouser is 21, but I'm marking 21 and a half. Remember, I'm taking away 1 inch. Now the reason I'm adding half inch is because we'll eventually use half inch to sew the band. Okay, also the crouch, instead of 10 I marked 10.5. please take note. Then I'll rule that out to a horizontal line. Sorry guys. Okay, so you make sure you have a horizontal line there so that you can place all your measurements accurately. Okay, lovelies. So the next thing you also want to do is to add your seam allowance or the folding allowance to fold the trouser. Okay, so whichever measurement we want to work with, I'm using 1.5 inches. So you also make that into a horizontal line. You can also use 2 inches, 2.5 to 3 inches. Just work with whatever you're comfortable with. I'm using 1.5 because I also want to use the remaining length to make the back pattern. Okay, so you also mark your hip depth. My hip depth is 8 inches for this trouser, but I'm marking 8.5 for the band. Okay, remember we'll sew the band with half inch. Okay, when we're attaching the band to the trouser, we use half inch to attach it. Remember, you're taking away 1 inch because your band height is 1 inch. Please don't forget, so that your trouser would fit and you would rock it so well. Okay guys, so having drafted all your measurements in, the next thing will be to impute your thigh circumference. Okay, so on the crouch line you're going to impute half of your thigh circumference. Okay, so whatever your thigh is, divided by 2, then add 1 inch seam allowance. Don't forget that. So on the hip line you want to mark the hip measurement divided by 4 plus 1 inch seam allowance. Okay, now you would also mark the same thing on mark quarter of the hip plus 1 inch on the waistline. Okay, we'll do the alterations later. Okay, so on the crouch line you also extend the hip line. This is just to help you get a good curve. Now on the crouch line you can go up by 1 inch to 1.5, but I prefer or advise you go up by 1 inch. Okay, just to get a very good curve for your crouch. Please don't make it a straight line because you won't be able to wear it. You won't be able to even enter a bike or squat. Okay, your trouser would tear. So make sure you have a perfect curve. Okay, now down to the length. Okay, so on the crouch line you want to measure what you have from that crouch line, okay, to the edge of your fabric, then divide that by 2. Okay, you see me dividing what my measurement by 2 in my tape, then you mark whatever you have there. Okay, I'm sorry my camera is not capturing this. Okay, but you also mark the same thing on the hip line. Okay, then also on the waistline. Sorry, that's the knee line. Okay, also mark it on the waistline then connect it to a straight line. Now this line is called the grain line, the crease line, or the dart line, because that is where you would eventually impute your dart. Okay, so on the knee line, and that's where the length of the trouser is, you divide your knee measurements by 2 inches. Okay, so you divide it by 2, then mark half of it on each side. It's also equivalent to saying divide your knee circumference by 4. Okay, then mark whatever you have on each side of the dart line, then you add half-inch seam allowance. Okay, then the camera is not capturing this, but extend the line to the crouch line. Okay, extend to the crouch line. I'm sorry I didn't place my camera nicely. I didn't see that it wasn't capturing that. I'm sorry about that, guys. Okay, so but subsequently I might do another video, but just make do with this one for now. On the waistline, you mark quarter of your waist measurement on the waistline, then 1 inch seam allowance. Okay, now this is where you would impute your dart. I told you that this is the dart line, but I'm not having a dart for this this pants. Okay, this trouser, I will be having a dart. But if you would impute a dart, this is where you add your dart. Then also make sure you add your dart allowance. Okay, so you use your curve to connect this to the hip line. Okay, so just imagine what I'm doing at that side. Connect that to the hip line. Okay, so the trouser is nearly done. It's so easy, like guys, this is so easy. Okay, once you just get to take your measurements accurately. Okay, now the front pattern is always short pattern. Okay, that is to avoid a bulge. So you come down by 1 inch on the side of the crouch, then connect it to the edge of your waist measurement. Okay, so but now when we're cutting, we won't cut it out first, so that by the time we want to draft our back pattern, we'll have everything together. So I'll start cutting. Okay, now note I'm supposed to cut exactly on the line, okay, to cut through my knee line, but I wouldn't do that. Okay, watch what I did. Okay, so I just made a mark there so that I can fold in the allowance. Now if you cut exactly on that line, you have a shortage. Okay, so by the time I now fold it and cut, you will see that by the time you're unlosing it, you would have a bit of allowance there. Okay, so that by the time you fold your pattern, everything will relax well. That's one sewing tip. Okay, so you cut through to the crouch, then you see that I have a slanted line, a slanted mark somewhere around the hem. Yes, you can see. So that's for the folding allowance. Now I hope you guys can see what I marked for the hip line and the knee line. Okay, so just pause and watch that carefully, because it didn't show when I was marking it. So you can see that now. Okay, so you also fold and cut through. Okay, so this is the front pattern for the trouser. Okay, it's so easy. So you can see what we have there now. Now for the neck slant, the waist slant, please don't cut it yet till we are done with the back pattern. Okay, now this is not the only method for making a trouser. Okay, so subsequently when I'm making other trouser patterns, I would also make sure to share with you so that you have varieties. Okay, all right. So now for the back pattern, you want to fold the back so that it is bigger than the front by at least 2 inches. Okay, and the length should also be higher than that of the back by at least 2 inches. Now this is for the bust allowance. Remember, the front and the back are not the same. The front is flat, but at the back you have your bum at the back, and some of us have very massive behinds. Some of us have very nice curvy behind, so you want to make room for your butt. Okay, so that when you wear your trouser, your butt will be well accommodated. Now I'm using a heavy weight to place on the fabric so that it doesn't move around while I cut. Okay, so now because my behind or the client behind I'm working with, it's not so big, I'll be going up by 1.5 inches or even 1 inch, okay, because the behind is not so much. So I'll make sure I take my line upwards, okay. So on the crouch line I'll mark 1.5 inches, then also extend the crouch line to that point, yes, so that you would have your crouch line. Then I would make a curve, okay. Watch carefully, this is extremely important so that your trouser will relax well. So from there you use your curve to make it to the 1.5 inches you made, okay. So you can see that extra allowance you have there, that is what will accommodate your butt. Now please, if your butt is bigger, make sure that you add up to 2 inches, okay. So from that 1 inch we came up, okay, I'll also connect it down to the edge of the waistline. The camera is not capturing that, but I'm telling you now that you did it to the waistline, okay. On the knee line, okay, I would also mark 1 inch, okay, just as same allowance and as ease allowance, okay. So it's going to be 1 inch because I've already added half inch to the measurements on the knee. So I use half inch to sew. I also use the other half inch at the back, then the remaining half inch is going to be for ease, okay. Now you're making a long pant, this is the same method, you just have to impute your ankle measurement, okay. So I also fold the back just so that I'll be able to cut and have a better allowance at the back, okay. So get to the crouch and take it up to the waistline, okay. Now the reason I am doing this exactly is because my zipper is going to be by the side of my trouser, okay. So in another video I'll make sure to teach us how to cut the trouser with a front zip and side pockets, but for now this would make do, okay. This is what I'm making because this is the amount of fabric I have and that is what we want to make for this client, okay. So you also trim out the edge, okay. Remember that side is the same, while where the allowance is at the crotch side. All right, so this is the back and the front, okay. So you can see the 2 pieces together. For your trouser you would always have 4 pieces, 2 pieces for the front and the remaining 2 pieces for the back. Remember our slant, okay. This is so that your trouser is not bulging in front. Now for you to sew, you join it together and sew by a half inch. Do the same thing for the front, okay. So by the time you open, you will now attach them together. When I attach them, I would still come and show us, okay. Okay, so I'm done sewing the shoulders through, okay. So first things first, make sure you overlock the edges of your pieces or your pattern, okay. Make sure you have overlock all the edges. It's going to help you achieve a clean finish by the time you are done. Now remember I said join the front pieces together and the back pieces together, okay. Then when you are done, you place them together and take in your allowance, take your measurements, then sew the sides, then the inseam you also join it, okay, down to the hem. Now the next thing to do is to now fold the hem of your short. Make sure you fold the hem, then you iron it, turn it out and you iron, okay. Now this is our short already, so nice and fits perfectly, okay. So remember I told us that my zip is going to be by the side, okay. So you join the first side, then when joining the other side you leave your zip allowance, okay. My zip allowance is 7 inches, okay. So you leave allowance for the zip, then you join the remaining sides. You add the zip after joining the band, okay. Now you can see that the back is higher than the front. Remember, we slanted the front. Okay, so we now have 1 inch excess at the back. Like I said, it's for the bum rise, to accommodate your bum, so that when you bend down, or your bum will not be showing. Okay, now the back of our shorts, it's super nice. Okay, now I want to show us how to cut the band. Okay, remember I made this video, I made the sewing process off camera so that this video would not be too long. Okay, so I want to show us how to cut the band now, because most of us make the mistake of cutting the band in a straight form or in a straight line, thereby having little errors while joining the band. Remember, the waist is not straight, it was slanted both front and back. So I'll mark a straight line first, okay, and call that my starting point. Okay, so make that straight line, then you come down by 2 inches from the line. Okay, then use your ruler to also take it up, to just make a slant line to the edge of that line. Okay, now our band height is 1 inch. We'll need ½ inch to sew the band. Okay, now because our band will be folded, 1 inch plus ½ inch is 1.5, then double of that is 3 inches. So I'll mark 3 inches following that slanted line. Okay, so that the down part will also be slanted. That's the trick behind it. So keep marking your 3 inches. Yes, so then you connect. You can see that my ruler is not straight, it's also slanted. That's following that line. Okay, now after that, you want to take your waist measurement. Now you might mark your waist divided by 4, okay, plus your seam allowance. Remember, our waist is supposed to be divided by 2 now, because we're making the band, and because this is supposed to be on fold. Okay, this pattern is on fold, that part is on fold, the center back or the center front is on fold. Now I'm cutting the band separately, the front part separate and the back separate. That is why I'm dividing by 4 instead of 2. Okay, so when I cut this out, I would also cut the back separately. Okay, so we're cutting the band out now. Okay, remember to add your seam allowance, very important. Okay, now this is the band. Okay, by the time you look at the edge, you can see that it's not straight, it's slanted. Okay, so that it will sit properly on your waist. If you cut it on a straight line, it won't sit well on your waist. Now remember I said you should cut 3 inches because we are going to fold the band. So you can see I've folded the band. Okay, so by the time I fold, I will now have 1.5, and I now use the ½ inch to sew to the trouser or to the shorts. We'll have our original band height of 1 inch back. Okay, so you can see the band is not straight, it's curvy, slanted. Okay, now you also want to use a fusible interfacing. Okay, you can use, I use the soft stay, okay, to give my band firmness. Okay, so this, you're going to cut 2 of this. Remember I said this is for the front, then you cut another one. Okay, this is the front, then you also can use the other one as the back, whichever way, but just make sure you're cutting the same thing, the exact same thing. Yes. Okay, so you can see that I attached my band separately. That's why I have the joining at the sides, so that I can attach my zip at the side. That is the reason. Okay, so that's it on how to make our shorts. You can see super nice. So like, share and subscribe. Bye.